Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 898A, and today's date is February 19th, 2016, and the title of the episode is The U.S. Economy is Sinking Fast, and More QE Will Not Help. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, on this Friday, we normally see the market pushed up into the green to make everyone feel good going into the weekend. Well, they tried their best. They got it up to a point where they can say, okay, close enough, it looks good. Gold we see is up a little bit, hovering around that $1,200 range. And we can see from everything that we've been doing, all these economic indicators, that leading up to this point, we've been seeing the economy slowly go from this recovery they talked about, which never existed, into a recession, into a depression, and here we are at this point. Now, we have to remember, everything that we look at is indicators. It's not crystal ball magic. It's not future telling. We're looking at all the things and tracking everything. So we have a record of saying, yes, look, from the beginning till now, the economy has been slowly deteriorating until we hit this collapse. Because we saw this back in 2008 where they made it all seem like it just happened on that day. It was absolutely fine until that day, which is absolutely false. So what we're looking at, and this has to do with political, geopolitical, and economics, we're looking at all the indicators, trying to put all the pieces together to create a picture of what's really going on here. Because as we know, the government continually lies to the people. And they'll lie to the very end, and even when the collapse is here, they'll continue to lie. Now, for those people that have been following me, we can honestly say from the economic indicators and everything that we've been seeing is it's been getting a lot worse, and it's accelerating. Now, you might not agree with me, because you might think, no, everything is fine, because I believe the government. They told me everything is fine. Well, you can believe that. That's your choice. That's the beauty of freedom. But what we've been looking at is not, something out of the sky. These are facts. These are economic indicators, not manipulation of statistics. And this is what the government likes to push at us. They like to close the departments that don't count layoffs anymore because it's not in their budget. So what we're seeing right now is everything starting to fall apart. Now, if you believe the government, let's just use France, for instance. Back in 2013, President Hollande was out there saying the economy is improving, everything is fine. Has anything changed since 2013 in France? No, actually, if you look at it, it's gotten worse. President Obama in 2013 was saying the real estate market is doing fine and it's going to be incredible in the next couple of years. Really, the real estate market is so incredible right now. No, it really isn't. Yes, in certain pockets around the country, but put your house up for sale. Let me know how it goes. And yes, in those areas, you might have a sale. But guess what? In the majority of the country, people are struggling to sell their homes. It's getting harder and harder. Prices are coming down. We see the global economy falling apart. Even wealthy individuals are starting to scratch their heads and say, okay, something's wrong here. It seems maybe we're in a recession or depression at this point. Companies are saying this year in 2016, we don't see sales improving. And if we were in this incredible recovery that the government has been telling us about, why are so many retail stores closing? Because recoveries equal closure of stores? Oh, recovery equals layoff of individuals? Recovery equals a manufacturing decline? No. It doesn't. That's why when you hear all these people talk about economic recovery, the economy's fine, they have no idea what they're talking about. They're listening to the government relaying that message because they want to believe. And that's fine. That's their choice. Now, you can either be prepared for what is coming, or you can go and listen to CNN, SMNBC, or whatever the other stations are, and listen to all the news stories that have nothing to do about what's really going on in the world. Because what we are seeing right now is an acceleration of the economy completely dying and falling apart. The Eurozone right now, the consumer confidence, it has plunged the most since 2012. I mean, not only are the stocks and the bank bonds collapsing, so is the European consumer confidence. In February, it dropped to negative 8.8 from negative 6.3 in January. This was much sharper than they thought was going to happen, and they just can't understand why. Why are people, not believing that the economy is doing fine? Because their lifestyle has completely changed. People are losing jobs. Things are getting more expensive. The core consumer prices has surged to 0.3% month on month. This is the biggest jump since August of 2011. And year on year, it's up by 2.2%. So what does this mean? Well, it looks like inflation is picking up. Well, inflation has always been here. It's just been masked and covered up. And it's very easy to do to mask inflation, especially when you go into the supermarket. Certain products you can't do it, like fresh fruit, milk, and things like that. It's much more difficult to do. But other products you can shrink, you can substitute ingredients and products. And this is what they've been doing. Ice cream, for instance, if you look for a half gallon, what they've done is they shrunk the size of the containers. Some products, they're using different ingredients because they're cheaper. It kind of masks inflation. We see that pensions, they are in jeopardy right now. Giant pension funds, they're planning to cut 50% of the benefits. Now, Dale Dorsey, who's been working for a company for 33 years, he's facing a 55% cut to his pension benefit. A blow which he says will be crippling to his family. This cannot happen at this point because he doesn't know how he's going to make it without his pension. And it looks like that central state pension funds in Kansas City, for instance, which covers about 400,000 participants, it's going to be cut. And we see this with major corporations like GM. They had to sell about 20 and 30-year bonds in order to meet its pension obligations. And guess what? They're still going to have to cut the pensions because they're underfunded by $10.4 billion. And we're starting to see this sweep across the country where the money that you're putting in for your pension, the companies, it's being lost. They don't have the funds. Social Security, the government has taken the money that you put into Social Security and spent it already. And they replaced it, don't worry, with Treasury bonds. Manufacturing is declining here in the U.S. The Baltic Dry Index is at 315. It moved up by 2 points. And I know a lot of people are like, look, it's up for the 5th consecutive session. Oh my God, it's up to 315. 315. Go back a year. It should be around 1,000 points. Go back another year, 1,100 points at this time. This is a complete disaster at this point. We see John Deere and Caterpillar. Well, Caterpillar, we know, they've been having declining sales year after year for 38 consecutive months. John Deere just shocked their investors with terrible numbers. Now, what's very interesting about John Deere is they said that in this year, 2016, they're forecasting terrible sales because of the downturn in the economy. Downturn? Wait a minute. Didn't the Fed just hike the interest rates because we're in a strong recovery? Why is Caterpillar, IBM, John Deere, and the major corporations, why are all the sales dropping month to month to month? If this is so strong, this economy, why is Macy's, Walmart, JCPenney, Sears, Barnes & Noble, Staples, why are they closing hundreds of stores? Sports Authority, as we know, closing 140 stores. If the economy is so strong, like everyone is telling us, why are these stores closing? Because in a true recovery, you see expansion. You do not see contraction. It's impossible. Now, it's getting so bad. The economy is getting so bad, not just here in the United States, around the world, Canada, Australia, Japan. And in Japan, what they're doing is they're cracking down on media organizations, saying that they're not fair in when they're reporting about the economy, that they're going to come down hard on domestic news reporting on those media sites that report the economy is doing poorly. Because if the government is saying left and the media and the alternative media is saying right, this doesn't work for the country. Well, what happens if they're just telling you the truth? What happens if they're just telling you this is the economic information and it looks like the economy is not doing well? Why do you have to agree with the government? Why? Just because the government tells you something that we need to automatically agree with them? Absolutely not. If the economy is doing poorly, the media should report it's doing poorly, even though the government is telling you that it's doing fine. Sam Zell, he is saying we are already in a recession. I'm going to say we're already in a depression. Forget recession. And he also said, well, if we're not in a recession, we're rapidly moving towards one. Well, from everything that I see, from all the indicators that we reported on, from all the other reports, and everything that shows that we're worse off than 2008, we are in a depression right now. And he's saying the Fed is out of tools. It's going to be impossible for them to save the markets. And this is going to be very problematic. It will be problematic. They will not be able to save what's coming. They can create more and more money through QE. It's not going to solve the problem. It never has. It covers up the problem, but it doesn't solve the problem. And this is why things are rapidly falling apart. And we're going to come to a point where the government will not know how to explain this anymore. And this is why I've been telling you to get prepared. I know I've been telling you for years that the economy's falling apart. The government for years has been telling you that it's getting better and we're fine. Well, this is your choice. This is your job to say, okay, let me do a little research. What's really going on here? Let me listen to other people. Let me listen to the government. Let me make a decision. Is it falling apart, or are we on the road to recovery? Well, I'm going to still stick to this whole thing's falling apart. I'm going to listen to those people that told us prior to 2008 that the economy was falling apart, because the government didn't say that. The Fed didn't say that. And this is why we've been tracking indicators. We're not looking in a crystal ball. We're not making all these predictions, pie in the sky. This is what's going to happen. We've been following everything one day at a time to show that everything is falling apart, saying we need to prepare for what is coming. Now, if you don't want to prepare, I'm saddened by this. Even if you don't believe, I believe you should have a little bit of food, some cash, maybe some gold and silver, a weapon. You might not believe a storm's coming, a hurricane's coming. You might not believe that it's going to be that bad, but you should still have some preps. I don't wish harm to anyone. And if you don't want to believe, that is your choice. You have the freedom to do that. I don't know why you'd be listening to me, but you have the freedom to choose. But you need to understand that we are headed down this path to a collapse. Does it really matter if it happened in 8 years, 7 years, or 9 years? If it happens tomorrow, does it make any difference? If it happens 3 months from now, what's the difference? The only difference is hopefully you prepared. But the point is, the collapse came. At the same time, the government was telling you it was fine. The government was telling you fine prior to 2008. And look what happened. So right now, everyone needs to be prepared. You need your food, you need your water, you need your supplies, you need your gold and silver. As we can see, gold and silver is trying so hard to move up, but the government is suppressing it. The central bankers are suppressing it. They can't let this indicator show that the economy has completely fallen apart. If you haven't started, I'd go to lifereliance.com. They have bug out bags. They have water filtration systems. They have seeds. You can customize your order. But whatever you're doing, it doesn't really matter at this point as long as you're doing it. Even if you're not a true believer, you should have a little bit. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.